Digital marketing moves quickly. Algorithms change, platforms evolve, trends appear overnight, and at-home business owners often feel pressured to chase numbers, clicks, and constant visibility. At its core, leadership is the integration of how we think, act, and live across our businesses, work, and life. And in the digital world, adaptive leadership shows up in our ability to adjust, innovate, and lead effectively in rapidly changing environments. Now, to expand this conversation further, on Mondays, our discussions turn to the Listening Heart series, which focuses on spiritual leadership in our daily lives. And on Wednesdays, we turn our attention to performance leadership in traditional workplaces. Now, what gives me the right to talk about these things? Well, it really follows my life experiences. From 6 years in a seminary under the guidance of Benedictine monks, to 18 years in government at the executive levels, to owning my own consulting and training business for over 45 years, and finally, to transitioning my business to the digital world in the past several years. Hello, folks. I'm Richard Fontanie, and I will be your host today. If you are new to this podcast, welcome, and if you are returning, a heartfelt welcome back. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and thank you for doing so. And remember, we are all called to lead in some way, even if we don't have a formal leadership title. Today, we will explore the decision to help others in the digital world, shifting our focus to people and not to clicks. One of the biggest challenges in digital marketing today is the temptation to focus entirely on metrics, to focus on views, subscribers, clicks, traffic, conversions. Now, while these measurements matter in business, problems begin when numbers become more important than people. Adaptive leadership reminds us that long-term success in the digital world depends on trust, relationships, authenticity, and service. And that is why this topic is so essential. The digital world is crowded with noise. Consumers are overwhelmed with advertisements, promises, promotions, and constant information. People are not simply searching for products anymore. They are searching for trust. They want honesty. They want connection. And they want leaders and businesses that genuinely care about helping them solve their problems. Now, this shift changes how we approach digital leadership. Instead of asking only, how do I get more clips? Wise digital leaders ask, how do I genuinely help people? That one question changes everything. It changes how we create content. It changes how we communicate online. And it changes how audiences respond. I have seen many small entrepreneurs struggle because they become discouraged by low numbers in the early stages of their career. A new creator launches a YouTube channel and receives very few views. An online business owner starts a newsletter and only a handful of people subscribe. A coach posts valuable content online but sees little engagement. The temptation is to quit. But sustainable digital leadership is built differently. Growth online often happens slowly before momentum develops. The leaders who succeed long-term are usually the ones who remain committed to serving consistently. So today, I want to share 5 actionable strategies that can help you focus on people rather than simply chasing clicks. The first strategy is solving real problems. Helpful content always performs better long-term than shallow promotion. When you answer genuine questions, simplify difficult ideas, or encourages people during their challenges, trust begins to grow. For example, a home-based entrepreneur teaching budgeting skills may only reach a small audience initially. But if her advice genuinely helps families reduce financial stress, her audience will gradually expand through credibility and word of mouth. Digital leadership begins with solving real problems. The second strategy is communicating authentically. People recognize sincerity. They also recognize manipulation. Adaptive leadership in the digital world requires honesty and transparency. That means avoiding exaggerated promises. It means admitting mistakes. And it means speaking in a conversational tone instead of sounding robotic. One online digital entrepreneur I know transformed his business simply by sharing honest stories about his own failures and the lessons he learned from his experience. His audience trusted him because he became relatable. Authenticity creates connection, and connection builds loyal communities, or tribes, as we say. The third strategy is listening carefully to your audience. Many struggling digital businesses spend too much time talking and not enough time listening, and that includes me as well. Comments, emails, surveys, and conversations provide valuable insight into what people truly need. Adaptive leaders remain curious, and they adjust their approach based on feedback. I remember a content creator who noticed that followers were repeatedly asking beginner level questions. Initially, she focused on advanced strategies. But after listening more carefully, she created simpler tutorials for newcomers. Her audience engagement increased dramatically because she responded to real needs. Now, the fourth strategy is building consistency. One of the greatest mistakes new digital entrepreneurs make is expecting instant success. When rapid growth does not happen, discouragement sets in. Yet, digital leadership requires patience. Consistency builds visibility, consistency builds credibility, and consistency builds trust. A podcast published weekly gradually develops loyal listeners. An email newsletter delivered consistently strengthens relationships. A business owner who continues showing up with valuable content becomes recognizable over time. Sustainable success online is usually built through disciplined repetition rather than overnight popularity. Digital leaders who genuinely care about helping others often create stronger communities than those focused entirely on selling. Service can appear in many forms: answering questions patiently, providing practical resources, encouraging discouraged beginners, sharing honest experiences, creating educational content, or simply treating people respectfully online. You know, the digital world desperately needs more humanity. One at-home entrepreneur began her online business after losing confidence during a difficult time in her life. Instead of pretending to have everything figured out, she openly documented her learning process. She shared small victories. She shared setbacks. And she encouraged others who were also starting from zero. And over time, her honesty attracted a deeply loyal audience. People connected with her because she focused on helping rather than impressing. And that, my friends, is adaptive leadership. It is the ability to adjust while remaining grounded in values. Now, what do you think of these 5 strategies? Are they doable for you? Can you implement them starting right now? Let me know in the comments. I would dearly like to hear from you. Now let's discuss practical a next step action plan. First, identify one real problem your audience faces. Second, create one piece of content this week designed purely to solve that problem. And third, ask your audience a question and genuinely listen to their responses. Fourth, choose consistency over perfection. And finally, measure success not only by numbers, but also by the value you provide. Now, if you're just beginning your digital journey, I want to encourage you. Do not compare your starting point to that of someone who has been in the business for several years. Every experienced creator once began with uncertainty. Every successful entrepreneur once faced discouragement. Growth requires patience, and learning requires experimentation, and leadership requires resilience. Adaptive leadership is not about having every answer immediately. It's about remaining flexible, teachable, and committed to serving others as you navigate change. The digital world will continue evolving. Technology will keep changing, and platforms will rise and fall. But one principle remains constant. People remember how you make them feel, as Maya Angelou once said. They remember honesty, they remember kindness, and they remember leaders who genuinely help them. That is why focusing on people, rather than simply chasing clicks, matters so deeply. Because in digital marketing, leadership is what builds trust, and trust builds everything. And remember, sustainable excellence is built in rhythms and not marathons. Now, if this conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, like, and refer to a friend, and I thank you for doing so. I'm Richard Fontanie, signing off. Join me next week when I explore another important topic for digital marketers: making ethical decisions in digital marketing. I hope you will join me. Bye for now.